Bluetooth connected.
A very ancient religious term. Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to this sacred space. I apologize for the late start and the technical difficulties, but whether you are joining us from somewhere in the United States or India or Canada, you should be able to hear us just fine now on the YouTube channel, and we are recording this service so that the family can have access to it from now on, anytime you want it. Hi. I know most of you. I'm Brian. I have the honor of being married to Emily Skinner and the grandson-in-law of Duke Skinner. It is a privilege and an honor to be walking with all of you and serving in this role as we do what we can together to grieve, to learn together how to continue living and loving and walking, preserving Duke's legacy among us. We will talk a little bit throughout the service, but life does not begin or end in ways that we think it does. Life is an eternal project that goes way beyond these mortal, limited physical bodies we happen to possess for a short time. So I have every trust and faith that Duke is present with us in this room, that a being larger than any of us and beyond our understanding unites us, both in this life and beyond this life. And it's such a joy to gather with you today to celebrate the life and legacy that Duke leaves behind, and also to get a foretaste of the life that he has entered into, a life beyond these bodies that awaits all of us at one time or another. As we enter in, I want to say a few words of thanks. I want to thank our music director, Billy Bell. Billy is the music director here at this church, at First Congregational Church of Kittery, where I have the honor of serving as the pastor, but I've been away for the summer. So Billy, thank you so much for serving today. And Morgan McCurdy, a longtime member of our church and a wonderful musician. She's providing us with her gift of music to be our soloist. She'll lead us in our hymns, and she will sing a special song for us. Morgan, thank you so much for being here. We want to thank Jean and all of Duke's children for gathering together to plan this service. And we want to thank Liz and Rufus for all that they've done to help pull this together and all the hard work that's gone in. And thank you to all of you for being here, whether you came from York or north of the Canadian border. Where are you guys? No, I mean, where in Canada? Toronto. I wanted to say Toronto, but I wanted to get it excellent. Welcome. Thank you to all of you for helping to maintain this as a sacred, safe space. Here at this church, we practice wearing masks, and we have the windows open. We do everything we can to prevent the spread of COVID. Thank you so much. I know it's not comfortable to be wearing masks for a long time, but I'm so grateful to you for doing what you can to help keep us safe. When those of you who are speaking today, when it's your time to speak, you are welcome to come forward. If you're comfortable, you're welcome to come up here to the pulpit, but most people are comfortable where it's a little bit lower to the ground. And so there's a podium there. When you come up to speak, you can take your mask off and speak, and then we ask that you put it back on. And we'll keep our masks on when we sing songs together as well. The only other housekeeping issue I wanted to name is you happen to be in the oldest continually used church building in Maine. As such, there is no plumbing. So if you need a restroom, you'll find that across the parking lot at the far end, the building at the farthest end with a brand new gray siding. And that's actually where the reception after this service will be. Everyone is invited to join the family for refreshments, for sharing stories, for sharing laughter, and to enjoy each other's company while we continue grieving and saying goodbye. Are there any other questions or things we need to address before we enter? Well, truly, thank you all for being here. I would like to start us off with a prayer, and then we'll sing our opening hymn. The hymn numbers are located up here at the front. They're also listed in your bulletin. Please join me in a short time of prayer. Gracious and holy God, We give you thanks for the life of Charles Duke Skinner. We give you thanks for the lives he formed, the lives he touched, the world he changed around him. We give you thanks that we have had this opportunity to gather together, either in person or united through the magic of technology. Gathered together in your spirit. Help us to feel Duke's presence among us. Help us to confess that you are God of life. God who keeps us connected and growing and evolving long after we die. Be present with us in music, in silence, in laughter, and yes, in our tears. We ask that you bless the work that we are doing here together, and that it might bring a smile to Duke, as he makes so many of us smile. We pray all these things and more in the name of Jesus, our brother. Amen. Please join together in singing hymn number 597, Shall We Gather at the River? Please be seated. At this time, we'd like to invite Jean Skinner, Duke's beloved wife, to come share some memories and some thoughts with us. Jean, what's most comfortable for you?
Now, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to see, so in case I can't,
Oh, good.
my granddaughter will be for me. No, I'll try, but I have to be able to see the words. guess I can see. Oh, even better. Thank you. My initial plan was just to read a poem I wrote for Duke on his 89th birthday, and I will later. But first, I want you to consider this. If Papa and I had not married, this church would be empty. Today, that is food for thought. Is it not, period? Question mark, rather. First came our son, Chris, then our daughter, Liz, and then last but not least, Vicki. Following them came Sarah, Emily, Erica, and also came Lily, Lori, Maddie, and last, a boy, us. What had we wrought? All those beautiful, educated people, even a PhD, Dr. Maddie, period. It makes you stop and think, had Duke / Papa and I not married, where would you all be? Needless to say, we considered ourselves very blessed with each and every one of you in each generation. All to say that Duke / Papa loved you as did I. And a poem that I wrote to Duke, I am not a poet, on his 90th birthday. Oh, actually, it's our 69th wedding anniversary in 2021. I'd like to give credit to Elizabeth Barrett Browning for the first 2 lines. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Your love buoys me up. It keeps me nearly sane. Your love covers me like a warm blanket. It boosts my health and my outlook on life. Your love is an elixir. It heals my wounds. It mitigates all disasters. I cannot imagine what my life would have been without you. A desert, empty, a void. I have loved you for 79 or so years, and given the opportunity, I would love you for 79 more. Thank you all for the years of happiness you have brought to our lives. Now I have something written down. It's not going to be easy to read. On a lighter note, one of his favorite references to himself, so I add, that I very much love your, and I quote, nut brown body. That's Duke Skinner for you, right? Step back.
Thank you, Jean. Our scripture verse for today from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 14. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What gain have the workers from their toil? I have seen the business that God has given to everyone to be busy with. God has made everything suitable for its time. Moreover, God has put a sense of past and future into their minds, yet they cannot find out what the divine has done from the beginning to the end. I know that there is nothing better for them than to be happy and enjoy themselves as long as they live. Everyone noticed the picture of Duke with a wine glass in his hand. As I repeat, I know that there is nothing better for them than to be happy and enjoy themselves as long as they live. Moreover, it is God's gift that all should eat and drink and take pleasure in all their toil. I know that whatever God does endures forever. Nothing can be added to it, nor anything taken from it. God has done this so that all should stand in awe before the divine. There are many faith traditions around the world that would envision life as a wave on the ocean. Duke, unless I'm mistaken, spent pretty much his entire life around the ocean, whether it be here in York or Massachusetts or down in Florida. So, and all of us, because of Duke, have spent a lot of time at the ocean. So imagine standing at your favorite beach location and watching a wave roll in. The wave seems to come out of nowhere, but it doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes out of the ocean. And it crests, and it flows, and it crashes, all in its own time. The wave is breathed by the wind into being, and it descends in its own time, and it doesn't go away. It returns to the ocean. There are waters for every season. When we're young, we play in little kiddie pools. As we grow older, maybe we venture out and we surf and we swim in rivers and in the sea itself. As we grow older, we find calm streams and steady brooks to dip our toes in, to relax in the shade, in the cool breeze. And when we ourselves pass, when we die, when our bodies give out, we become vapor. There's air, there's water in the air. There's water everywhere. We breathe it in. It's not my job to convince you of a particular faith. It's not my job to try to convince you of being certain about something that I myself know very little about, which is what lies beyond this world. But it is my call to help try to provide ways of looking at things. Water is a foundational symbol for life, for God, because without water, we do not live. So wherever there is water, there is life. And just as water changes forms and changes bodies, so do we. The man that we knew as Duke Skinner rolled in off the ocean with a mighty, mighty breeze. And as Jean has been reminiscing in the last several weeks, what was once a lone wave grew so large, thanks to the support of his siblings and his parents and his friends, that now, as that wave descended, he leaves behind children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, friends from all walks of life. He leaves behind stories and laughter, all of them taking place in their own season, and all of them honored by God forever. Life leads to life. Death does not have to be the end unless we say it is. So friends, in the next few minutes, you will be hearing from children of Duke. You'll be hearing from grandchildren of Duke. We will be honoring the various seasons of his life, the various waters he dipped a toe in. And in our hearing, in our remembering, in our sharing, we get to preserve parts of his life among us and carry him forward with us. And we remember that it's good to celebrate and eat and drink while we're here together and remembering one another when we're gone. With that being said, I would like, actually there's a song. Let's take a minute to listen to the song.
A kiss is just a kiss, a sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time goes by. And when two lovers woo, they still say I love you. On that you can rely. No matter what the future brings as time goes by. Moonlight love songs never out of date. Hearts full of passion, jealousy, and hate. Woman needs man, and man must have his way that no one can deny. It's still the same old story, a fight for love and glory, a case of do or die. The world will always welcome lovers as time goes by. Moonlight and love songs never out of date. Hearts full of passion, jealousy, and hate. Woman needs man, and man must have his mate that no one can deny. It's still the same old story, a fight for love and glory, a case of do or die. The world will always welcome lovers as time goes by.
Christina.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I especially want to thank my sister Liz for organizing this service and the reception afterwards. I want to thank my sister Vicky, who is going to be appearing by video and who is streaming this, hopefully, from the ashram in India. I want to thank my wife for loving my father as much as she loved her own father, and for keeping him comfortable in his last days. I also wanted to say about Vicky that I wanted to thank her for the 10 months she spent coming from India to live with my parents in Florida. She was their driver, their shopper, their medication manager, their confidant. I want to thank my son-in-law Brian for leaving this service. I want to thank my friends, the Shays, Brian and Linda, for the wonderful meal that they provided as my parents came up here from Florida. And I want to thank each one of you for loving my dad. A couple of years ago, I had a conversation with Duke about a memorial service, and he was really dead set against it. He really didn't want to have one. He thought that it's too sad, everybody would be too sad, I don't want to do that. So in that spirit, I'm going to try and keep things light, as you'll see. I do want to share a few of my memories of him with you. My first memory, I think I was younger than, I had to be younger than kindergarten because I was living in West Roxbury, and he would race me down the driveway. And I remember he let me lead most of the way, and then he blew by me at the end because he was quite the athlete back in the day. I remember he coached me in Little League Baseball, which I'm sure led me to become a coach for my girls later. Excuse me. I didn't think I would get choked up. I have memories, fond memories of my mother and father sitting around the kitchen table in Marblehead with their really good friends, the Normans and the Clyhours. But I especially remember the day that my oldest daughter, Sarah, was born on his birthday. It was a very special moment, and I presented her to him. And I will always remember we have a video of Sarah when she was little, and we were asking her how old she was going to be on her next birthday. And she said, 2. And we said, how old is Papa Duke going to be? She said, 55. So I could always figure out how old he was because I knew how old she was. But what a great name for a grandfather, Papa Duke. All the little kids love to say Papa Duke. One of the things that he said to me over and over was, one of the best things a man can do for his children is to love their mother. And he did that for over 70 years. Now, you all know he had a great sense of humor. I remember it's already been referenced once here, but there was one story happened right across the way at Brian and Emily's rehearsal dinner. There was a big tent we were having. Somebody, a friend of Brian's, got up and told this story about his grandfather, Brian's grandfather, having just stepped out of the shower. So he was naked, and he stood in the door and blocked the door from some women who were trying to enter the men's compound. So he became known as the Naked Granddad. Then my father stood up and said, I have a few words to say in defense of naked granddads. He chuckled and kind of waited and said, if it weren't for naked granddads, this tent would be empty. As my mother referenced earlier. Now, I have a little bit different belief from Brian, but I believe that as long as we keep the memory of him alive in our hearts, he will always be with us. One of the things that he did as he worked as the training director for Boston Mutual for all those years was he organized the conventions. And at the conventions, he always organized a group of singers, and they would sing. And he did this later in Florida, where he would organize some singers for the breakup banquet for his golf buddies at the end of the golf season and before everybody headed back north. So in that spirit, we are going to do a sing-along. Everybody stand up. You've got the words in front of you. I have reworked the song that I sang to him at his 75th birthday. And I know it's funny because I remember my cousin Rich Labonte laughing his head off at my singing, which you probably will do too. And I wasn't really thinking about the fact that there are actual musicians in the room, but we'll give it our best shot. Okay, so the words, you have the words in front of you, and it's to the tune of Duke of Earl, which I'm sure a few of you remember. So we're going to try it. Ready?
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4. farewell. I want to thank you for the farewell. Without that, midnight hour is no Chris, no baby, and no Liz. He made stuffed shells and rotten police. He golfed and he gardened because he was the papa too. Oh, 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 papa too, papa too. Just one more thing to say. Remember how much you love the man. Papa too, papa too, papa too, papa too. All right.
Good morning. I'm Liz King, Duke and Jean's oldest daughter. And when I was thinking about what I could say today, I thought about how everybody in this congregation contributed to Duke's 90th birthday video. And I hope you all know how happy that video made him. All of your messages in the nicest sort of way. He got to hear about your love and your admiration and your thanks before he died. That was really great. So thank you all for that. And thanks for coming today so that we can again share our love for Duke and assure Jean that we will continue to be there to support her in the future. Many of you may not know that my father grew up in a congregational church in Rosendale, which is a neighborhood in Boston. And when I was packing up my parents' house in Naples to move up to Kennebunk, I found a handwritten, unfinished memoir that my father had started and didn't finish. He didn't get out of his teenage years. But in the memoir, he talked about what a huge day it was at age 8 when he received a Bible from his church. And I then found the Bible. In the front of the Bible is a bookplate that reads, Charles Edward Skinner, Jr., a child of the covenant, born November 3rd, 1931, baptized June 11th, 1933, received this Bible on June 11th, 1939. Another thing you may not know about my father is that his family, for many summers in his childhood and teenage years, they spent their summers at a Methodist summer community in Ipswich, Mass, called Asbury Grove. In my father's memoir, he talks a lot about what carefree, happy summer days those were. As a matter of fact, when my mother and my husband Rufus and I were trying to decide which hymns we should sing in today's service, my mother emphatically chose Shall We Gather at the River, because she said that she thought it sounded like the kind of song they would have sung at Asbury Grove. Since my father died, my mother and I have had many conversations about how she hopes that she will be reunited with him when she dies. I have no idea what happens when we die, but I do think that our spirits live on. Duke's spirit touched each one of us profoundly when he was alive. I believe going forward, each time we choose to respond to people with our best selves, with generosity, with unconditional love, and with joie de vivre, that is how we're going to keep Duke's spirit alive. I'd like to finish today by reading the 23rd Psalm from Duke's Childhood Bible. And the words are on the back of your program, if anybody would like to join me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and loving kindness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Thank you. Thank you both for those beautiful tributes. We have a special treat. Vicki Skinner could not be here in person, but she did send a video so that she can honor her father. So Vicki, I hope you are with us on YouTube, and I hope you get to see this. I have asked for a couple of volunteers to help lift a very large television, so excuse us while we get that set up. It's not super heavy, it's just so you just want to grab it. You guys see this?
Yes.
Excellent. And it's only 4 minutes. It's only about 4 minutes and 50 seconds. So hang in there.
Harry, you just step.
Angle it a little. Jean, can you see this okay?
Yeah, I'm just gonna get closer. Oh, wow, look at you.
Thanks, guys.
Love is a flow. It sweeps us up in its current when the grace of our own mind presents, offering immortality. Ha! All praises to the cycle upstream. All praises to all living beings. Even the villains have a role to play in this drama. As Amma says, Human beings are not aware they have a head until they get a headache. Forgiveness is your fiber, and gratitude our strength. O mighty one, please take my beloved dad to the ultimate truth of existence. Humbly, drenched with adulting tears, this prayer is placed at your feet by his youngest baby. He called me Squirt. Long, long ago, I don't know when, but I called him Daddy. He wrote this note. Did I ever see it? Or did he keep it somewhere for this moment? Dear Vicky, thank you for telling God it was us you wanted to live with. Daddy. How did he know I would devote my life to you? And then make it all possible. I can only bow down.
Thanks, guys. When I was a kid, I assumed, like most children, sorry. Start over. When I was a kid, I assumed, like most children, the adults around me were placed on this planet for the exact purpose I saw them serving in my life. My teachers, they probably assigned homework, told me to stop drawing on my desk, and then poof, disappeared until the next day at 8 a.m. I assumed my dentist just cleaned teeth 24 hours a day. I assumed my parents' lives began when mine did, and my most special Papa Duke was placed on this planet to crack jokes with a hearty clap of his hands and softly sing goodnight ladies when we left from a visit. But as you grow up, you start to see people from more angles, their sharp edges, their layers. You appreciate what happened before you and what they might experience when you're not around. It can be overwhelming to imagine the heartache or joy you've never witnessed and might not understand. I had the extreme good fortune of knowing Papa Duke for 35 years. Getting to know him as an adult only deepened my love and respect for who he was and how he showed up in the world. Duke the driven athlete, Duke the wise mentor, Duke the protective father, Duke the welcoming neighbor, Duke the curious conversationalist. One dimension about Papa's life I admire most was his role as a husband. For 70 years, he dedicated his life to a woman with whom he was besotted. He was not blind to her flaws, but they did not lessen his adoration. He seemed to have adapted with grace to each chapter in life as her partner. His hands were always busy with the business of making their life better. A batch of fresh cookies, a new sun deck, a lush garden, a fresh cocktail. I think Mame and Papa made each other laugh every single day. And as I build a partnership of my own, I'll never forget a simple piece of advice he left with me and Harry as we drove away from the airport curb. Take care of each other. He had a gift for making it all seem so simple. So, to honor this lifetime of partnership, this epic romance, I'd like to read a letter Duke wrote to Jean that she saved from the 1950s. Darling, another day by the boards, and I'm still away from you. The weekend that I looked forward to for such a long time came and went without me even catching my breath. It seemed that from the time I took you from Buck and Gordy until I gave you back to them was only about 10 minutes, and a short 10 minutes at that. But we managed to do quite a few things that became wonderful things because you were there beside me. Every time you took my hand or my arm, I felt big and important with you. You make me feel that there's nothing I couldn't do, nor nobody I couldn't beat, just because you hold my hand. And when you look at me, you can see in my eyes all that you mean to me. When at the track, you were standing with Pop and Fred, and you saw me coming through the crowd, you caught my eyes and held on till I was through the crowd and with you. And I knew more than ever that I loved you. Good to know that through the crowd, you will be there no matter what. That's what warms you when you're cold and alone. The goodbyes are becoming progressively harder to take, and I feel sure that there won't be many more. I want you, darling, and I'll do anything to have you for keeps. Please let it be soon, and let it be the greatest thing that two people can have. I love you, Duke.
Hi, everyone. I recently read a quote that said, "You can never love someone as much as you miss them." And that really resonated with me. Now, maybe it's the 3-year-old temper tantrums and thinking that bedtime can't come soon enough, and then not wanting nothing more than to be able to hold him when he's sleeping. But in reality, it's more likely my memory of Papa Duke that made that quote hit like a ton of bricks. You can never love someone as much as you miss them. I loved him endlessly. The way that only a granddaughter or a grandson can. But somehow I miss him more than that. 90 years, that's a long time. In his lifetime, he saw the Great Depression of the 1930s, the Great Recession of the early 2000s. He saw the Second World War, the first man in space, the Civil Rights Movement, the first Black president, the AIDS pandemic, the COVID pandemic, the Red Sox won the World Series, and so much more. He welcomed 3 wonderful children into this world, helped them, watched them grow up and flourish in the world as adults. He saw 7 amazing grandchildren and spectacularly 7 great-grandchildren too. He squeezed so much life, so much love, and so much golf into those 90 years. We are all better because we had him in our life. Now, there's a running joke in my family with my sisters and I that I'm always the favorite. The favorite grandchild, the favorite child, the golden one. But let's be real, I had an unfair advantage. The first grandchild, and born on his birthday no less, I had it in the bag before I even said my first word. But in all actuality, I think any one of us sitting here today could easily say, no, I was his favorite. Because we all were. We were all the most special people. We all felt like we were the only one in the room when we were with Papa. He had a way of rooting for each of us, for loving us in the perfect way, and that's just irreplaceable. He had a way, but really he still has a way. This day is a testament to his life, his legacy, the smiles, the tears, the singing, the memories, all possible because of him. He left this poem for one of his grandchildren to read today, and hopefully I can do it justice. To those I love, if I should ever leave you, whom I love, to go along the silent way, grieve not, nor speak of me with tears, but laugh and talk of me as if I were beside you there. I'd come, could I but find a way. But would not tears and grief be barriers? And when you hear a song or see a bird I love, please do not let the thought of me be sad, for I am loving you just as I always have. You are so good to me. There are so many things I wanted still to do, so many things to say to you. Remember that I did not fear. It was just leaving you that was so hard to face. We cannot see beyond, but this I know, I loved you so. 'Twas heaven here with you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Chloe. We would now like to invite Duke's little sister, Sandra, and also as a member of York Parish, a sister of this church, making her first Congregational Church of Kittery debut, Sandy Montford.
Oh. Oh, I can see over it. I was wondering if I would. Oh, such a beautiful day to honor such a wonderful man. When they said I'm his little sister, not so much anymore, but he's my big brother, and always will be. Good morning, everybody, and my precious family, all of you, most all of you. We all enjoyed Duke's love from the first favorite grandchild in mind. I know Addie thinks she is the favorite. It was my first, but they're all favorites. You love them all. Anyway, Jean, you just were such an act to follow. I mean, you and Duke made being married and in love for over 70 years look easy. Every day, you're right, Liz, they laughed every day and had a great marriage. I tried to model my own effort, but nobody can do that. Just, hopefully, you just have as much fun and many good, wonderful things happening. You are all the most special folks in Duke's world and Duke's life, and we're just so happy that we're all together here today. And I wrote this last night very late. I'm Sandra, the not-so-little sister, and I'm proud to say that Duke was a terrific big brother. Duke was 11 when I was born, and I was a surprise, I'm sure. And Richard was 8, my brother Richard. I didn't have that many years between my arriving on the scene and Duke leaving for college. So we filled as many funny things and happy things in that period of time as we could. Let's, for instance, summers at Asbury Grove, as you heard about a little earlier. Days spent at Cranes Beach, where Duke would put me on his shoulders and walk down that huge boardwalk over the burning sands until we reached the water, which was no easy hike in those days. It was what we did every day. And Duke used to drive around Asbury Grove when he could get the chance with the rag man or the ice man. He'd climb on the truck and he'd be part of the team, helping the old guy out. But that was Duke. He'd like to be part of the action. Let's see, what else do we have to say? You people you're a tough act to follow, all of you. So we won't go. These are just notes. I fondly remember an old car, Model A maybe, or maybe it was a Model T, but it was a Model something, that sat in our backyard in West Roxbury for maybe months. I never did get a ride in it, but I played in the raggedy old rumble seat with my dolls. And I think it finally did break down in Harvard Square or someplace like that, and I never saw it again. But that was Duke's joy. He loved fiddling with things like that. And then there was when he was in high school, he was number 65 for our Boston Latin School's football team. People kept yelling when we had, Thanksgiving Day was the Latin English game, big deal. And I was about 6 when that happened the first time. People were yelling, hit number 65, and I'm saying, no, don't do that, my brother. But he was a tight end, I think, or maybe a wide receiver. Chris, could you? One or the other, right? And sometimes Latin won, but I was always so proud of him. I used to run up and down the stairs at Harvard Stadium. What a place. I was 6 and enjoyed being there. Then we'd go to Memorial Drive and Howard Johnson's for our turkey dinner. Mama didn't have to cook a turkey those days. There were just too many fond memories to mention, but here's a fact I'm absolutely sure nobody else can say. I'm probably the only person in this room who attended their wedding. Anybody else? Yeah, you were there, for sure. But it was beautiful. Jean was the most beautiful bride. Beautiful, and she still is. She really is. Fred and I can't get over it. You know, the same as you did, no, he wasn't there, but I know. Same as you did that day. Color on the hair is just a little different. That's all. But it was a wonderful day. I was so excited, and Duke made that happen. They made, again, a marriage of 79 years. Looked like it was easy, simple. Whatever. We just had 60, so it's gonna be more than that, a lot more. I was 10 at their wedding, and So I was so impressionable. Oh my goodness, the first wedding I was ever at. Never mind, Jean's mother dragged me over and said, "You can be the flower girl." You became a member of the wedding. Yeah, I did. Didn't attend, but I'm so happy that I was there, and it was lovely. So these are the times that there were all those, can't sit down without saying this, Duke and Jean came to most of my dance recitals at John Hancock Hall and stayed up till like 11 or 12 or 1.
Dance. Each one had 3, 5, 6 numbers, I don't know.
Well, I was in the
forever.
finale, always the end one. But anyway, so big brothers, Duke and Richard are both gone now, but this little sister will love them always and keep their love alive. And never forget. Thank you all for coming too. Thank you. Here we go.
Sandra. Jimmy Nichols, come on forward.
Your mother called me Jimmy. I've been called Jimmy since your mother called me Jimmy.
I call you Jimmy.
Well, she called me Jimmy first. Thank you for inviting me to this memorial. When I think of Duke, there's several things that just pop out at me. Number one, Duke made me smile. He didn't have to talk to you. He didn't have to write anything. Watching him approach you, whether it was indoors or outdoors, you looked at that face and you start to smile because you know in a very few seconds, he's going to turn your day around. He's going to have a quib, a story, some observation. It was going to make you laugh. It was never mean-spirited. It never had any expletives in it, but you could anticipate that Duke had something funny to say. Even on the phone, I'd be calling Jean, and Duke would get on the phone. I would be smiling because I knew within seconds Duke was going to say something that was really funny, that was timely, and I anxiously waited for it. The second thing, Duke in some language must mean food. Has to, because every time there was Duke, there was food. Even on phone conversations, I could smell something cooking. He loved food, and he loved telling stories. And the third thing is that Duke and my father were best friends. I'm going to read in a second excerpts from Jean's memoir entitled Of a Girl Called Baby Jean, written by Jean Holly Skinner. They were fast friends. My father hated to visit people. He would much prefer to have people come to 45 State Street. We went one trip to Virginia to see Babe, Uncle Babe, Jean's uncle, my mother's brother. Other than that, Dad wanted people to come to State Street, with one exception, and that was the Skinner family. Dad would say, we want to go down and check out the Skinner family's new house. So we'd go to Newton Lower Falls or some places, and then a little while later, we got to go see Duke and Jean's new house. I said, gee, didn't we just see there? Oh, there's many houses. There's many houses. But then there was Marblehead. And Dad tells the story that Duke came to him and said, I have a chance to get my name on the deed for this parsonage in Marblehead, Mass., but it's a lot of money. Would you kind of check it out for me? Dad drove down there, and in Dad's words, I told Duke, get your name on this deed regardless of how you do it, except don't give away any of the children. Duke did it, and then he remodeled this entire home. Now, you've got to visualize a home that looks out onto Boston Harbor, that sits up above on a knoll. It is unbelievable location. I can't even think about what that could cost right now to buy that house. But Chris is nodding, it's in the millions. So he got the house, but he made it a home. That was his skill. I don't know if there's golf in the afterlife, but if there is, he and my father probably have an afternoon tea time. And I didn't even know what afternoon is in the eternal, but I think they're around listening to this. And I'd like to read a couple things that Jean wrote in her memoir that I have read more than once. I'm going to put the glasses on just in case. December 3rd, 1950. Duke's and my courtship did not run smoothly. We broke up and made up many times. I can't remember the reason for a single fight. I just remember that we had quite a few. In the course of our relationship, Duke had given me his ring from Latin school, his purple Latin school football jacket, and a small gold football, which I wore on a chain. It had an L for Latin school on it. He also gave me a Bowden mug, and last but not least, his fraternity pin. The symbolism of a fraternity pin was a serious one. You were engaged to be engaged. When we had a fight, I would pack up all his stuff and mail it back to him. It happened so many times that it became a joke in Deering House. After each big makeup, I would gradually recover all of my former possessions until the next fight, when the process would start all over again. My years at Westbrook stand out as very happy, very fulfilling years. I'm sure all was not as glorious as I remember it now, but any small crisis was soon resolved. My happiness was due to my newly found freedom and, of course, to falling in love with Duke Skinner. He was such a charmer, so bright, so funny, so everything a girl could hope for. To illustrate, here are a few selected fragments of the letters he wrote me during our courtship. I have saved them all. Darling, I think that I'm as mellow as I have ever been right now. If you were here or I was there, I could show you just what I mean. I'd call you darling, sweetheart, holly baby, and everything I could think of, and yet it wouldn't tell you exactly how I felt. Just to see you smile, that languid, lovely, easy smile you smile when you're only a fraction of an inch from me. That's all I want and ever hope to want. And finally, when we get together forever, I still will feel that you couldn't be true. You're only a dream that I came across, and I stopped and loved you and wanted you and came to you and offered you whatever I had. And you accepted me, and my heart sang a song that has never been put to music. Marry me, Duke, April 16th, 1951. Obviously, this story has a happy ending because 70 years coming this December 27th, they will have been married, would have been married 70 years. My father had expression for that. He called it the big numbers. Dad always referred to the big numbers. Now, the wife and I have got 46 years, not a big number. You had to get up to the big numbers. And Dad, I'm sure, is laughing, and so is Duke. But their laugh is going to be short because they're going down to play a little golf. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate the opportunity to say something about Duke. He wasn't Uncle Duke. He wasn't Cousin Duke. He was just Duke. And everybody knew who you were talking about. You want to sign this? It's more valuable.
Thank you all. Such beautiful tributes, beautiful memories, wonderful stories. When we gather at the reception across the way, that'll be another opportunity for all of us to share stories, to share laughter, to continue remembering and living into the legacy of this wonderful, amazing man. All of these memories, all these stories, these are the waves. These are the observable parts of life that we all get to say, look, this happened. Let's share in this joy. Let's share in this memory. And now we are honoring Duke's congregational roots by offering a prayer of commendation, which is expressing that Duke's wave has crashed. Duke's wave has come back to the ocean. And this is our way of releasing care of Duke and releasing all the life and all the joy that he contained to this larger eternal ocean. So if you care to, you're welcome to join me in this prayer of commendation, followed by the words of the Lord's Prayer, which are printed in your bulletin. Please pray with me. Holy Divine Spirit, we commend to you the soul of Charles Duke Skinner, your beloved son, a lamb of your own flock, a sinner of your own redeeming, a wave you breathed into being, a force of nature you have received into your everlasting presence. Empower us to release him to your eternal loving care, trusting by your power. Duke continues to bring laughter and wisdom and kindness and somehow golf into eternity and the fullness of life. We trust that you are the force and the life that connects all of us until we may be rejoined together in your presence. We praise you for your love of all creation, a love that transcends everything, even death. Receive this prayer and all the prayers we offer this morning through the words that Jesus himself taught us to pray together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Please join us in singing our closing hymn for all the saints, found in the hymnal on number 299. Thank you yet again for coming to celebrate Duke, to bid him a fond farewell, until we join him in that great ocean that connects all of us once again. After this short closing music, everyone is welcome to leave this place and come across the parking lot to join us for a reception. Let's get some food, let's celebrate, let's dance together and crash together among these waves while we can, before we all return to the great ocean that connects us all. Go in peace.
Good night, ladies. Good night, ladies. Good night, ladies. We're going to leave you now. Farewell, ladies. Farewell, ladies. Farewell, ladies. We're going to leave you now.
both so much. Chris is writing a couple checks right now, so if you haven't been hanging out, thank you. That was so wonderful to work with both of you. It's always such a treat to see you.
Looking forward to seeing you here.
Is that, I've never asked you, is Billy short for?
No, it's just a southern name.
Yeah,
My name when I was, was Billy Joyce. I mean, we all have two names.
Billy Joyce Bell.
So it was something else. I think Hattie and
I was wondering, I've always wondered if Bell was the name you were born in.
Oh, no, that's not. Oh, I know that's.
Milton Bell
Yes.
and Billy Bell.
Yes.
So you married into like the most perfect name for yourself.
I know.
That's fantastic.
And I always tell this joke because we dated in high school.
Yeah.
And the girls would tease me about him. They said, oh, if you married him, your name would be Billy Bell. And I said, oh, no, that's going to be forced. I can't marry him.
Sounds like a horse. Sounds like a contestant in the Derby. That would never occur to me. I just think it's a beautiful name.
We'll get